Hello, everybody. Welcome back to PSM Spotlight. And today we're joined by gentleman toy reviewer and collector Ben's Collectibles. How are you, Ben?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Thank you for doing this. Like, I've been wanting to actually talk to you for quite some time now. And by the way, I think we would be remiss not to take note of the big boy behind you. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
we-
It's definitely a centerpiece. It's yeah, it's something.
I watched your live stream when you were assembling that, and I don't know why it reminded me of when my wife actually gave birth. Did it feel that way? Like,
Oh, it was. I mean, I've seen. Up before it arrived, I'd seen a few of the Chinese reviews, and they've got a kind of a small area where they're building it, and I don't think you really kind of got a sense of how big this thing was. So
yeah.
when it arrived, I got this table built in the middle. I thought, this is going to be great. This is going to be nice and easy. And as soon as I got
Was
like that first, I think it was like the legs I got out first. It was just like, oh wow, this is going to be this is going to be a workout. This thing's insane. I'm just glad that I've got like a 6'2", like 16-year-old son that just helps.
Yes, that thing actually paid rent yet? Like,
Yeah,
that takes a
it
lot of
should be, should
space.
be.
Like,
Oh,
we're getting these big transformers before, and I remember when actually constructor actually came out. That was a really big deal back then, and no one actually knew the size of it because we were just seeing it from reviewer standpoint.
yep.
But when we got it in hand, like that was a game changer when it comes to what we perceive regarding how masterpiece transformers can be. Does that thing actually have the same sense?
I think so. I think I mentioned it when I did the live. I think this is going to be testing the waters for a lot of other third party companies. Um, I think they're sitting by like I can't wait if Fans Toys give us the body for Fort Max. Honestly can't wait for that. It's going to be sensational. But I think they've been holding off for something like this just to see, does it sell? How do people get on with it? I
Yeah,
mean, I was getting told, like literally as I was building the thing, that it's going to fall over, that the joints are giving way. And when you like dig down and find out where these rumors are coming from, they were literally like that. I think Shozi posted up a warning or something on their site briefly, saying it has to be supported, but it was just a bad translation because I spoke with Lewin, um, and it was basically they were worried that if it got knocked over, it would hurt somebody. If they were
yeah,
trying to cover themselves by saying, "Oh, it's best to have it kind of supported in case it gets knocked over." But that's the same principle with with all these bookcases. It's the same principle with like a TV. If you hang it on the
yeah.
wall, um, and people were telling me that the legs are going to give way or that it's not going to. It it hasn't moved.
There's no
I put it
bookcase
as
that would ever support that thing. Like,
no. I mean, yeah, okay, I have cats, and I ideally wouldn't like them
mm,
climbing on it. But yeah, my son plays it. Well, I supervise him, my youngest, but he comes in here, he plays. It's just because it's so heavy. I mean, it's
yeah,
crazy heavy. It takes two of you realistically to pose it. I think that probably is going to be its downfall, if anything. I think people
yeah,
are going to love it. Um, but it's a workout in itself, and you do really need somebody to come in and pose it, which does take a little bit of the fun out of it, I think.
yeah.
But it still has that wow factor. It's a centerpiece.
Yeah, it's
I
not
don't know.
something you get to play with. I feel like it's something you get to show off.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think. I mean, I ordered Unicron through HasLab when that came out, and it took so long to arrive that by the time we got it, I just it was just the box was in our lounge. Just like I don't want it. I didn't, but I don't see people pulling off like really big poses with
Yeah,
Unicron. Again, it's kind of that it could be a statue. It could it's an incredible piece and it looks fantastic in your display, but you don't have them in like dynamic poses, do you? Some people can hang it. I
yep.
doubt this thing can be hung. Um, Maybe with some metal chains or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think maybe it takes away some of that fun just because of how big and how heavy it is. But I think that's the same as any of the Transformers, isn't it? I mean, you start off with
Yeah,
like you can pick up a Voyager figure and you can just mess around with it constantly on your desk and just you could take
yeah,
it to work, you just play around. But when you start getting bigger and bigger and bigger, you get like the combiners or you get like say Fans Toys Omega Supreme, DX9's Omega Supreme. They're getting bigger, they're getting heavier, they're getting harder to pose, aren't they? And this thing is yeah,
yeah.
it poses, but
If you have
it's
the HasLab, right, you have the HasLab Unicron, you'd probably want to display it somewhere far away from that. Like
yeah,
it diminishes from the magnitude of that piece before. That was the
yeah, yeah,
centerpiece of everyone's collection. And
yeah, yeah.
placing it beside that,
So, but like I said, I think this could be kind of laying the line for other companies to kind of come in. I mean, could you imagine, even if it was a non-transforming kind of Unicron done to this kind of size, or
oh
if
good God.
Lewin, if this does well for Lewin and they could give us something like Triptychon, that's going to be like this giant kind of Godzilla-esque kind of thing. It'd be crazy,
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. But it's space.
I think
I think
Triptychon would be much more harder because of the tail. Like everyone's
yeah,
been displaying their Titan, removing the tail because that
yeah,
wouldn't actually fit in any display. So if you
yeah,
have that in a 4 foot scale and do it to size, you would have to put it sideways.
yeah.
It would be consuming a lot of space more than that Metroplex.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's it. It's space. I know obviously the Chinese reviews that went up. They were having it on like the couch and stuff like that.
Yeah,
'Cause it's literally the space they have. I mean, we're lucky here. We're out in Canada. A lot of the houses here have basements, so you can kind of make use of that space.
yeah,
But not everybody has kind of space to house
yeah.
these things. Like you say, it should be paying rent. It's uh,
It's like you adopted something, right?
yeah,
With a
yeah,
box.
yeah.
Adopting something that came in a box.
I had a poker game with a load of guys from Edmonton. It's like a really fun kind of Transformers one. Like
Yeah,
you're paying with your Transformers, and it's just like a social event. That had that yesterday, and I really wanted to bring this thing along, but there's no way I'd get it in the car. It would not
yeah.
sit. It's too big for the seat next to me.
It's
I'd have to kind of
I
lay
figured
it
it's a
across
pain.
the.
When I saw you assemble it, I figured it would also be a pain to actually disassemble it and try to reassemble it again.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a one-time thing.
it's not overly difficult because I don't know how much you can see from here, but the
Yeah,
arms are bolted on underneath, so you could get under there, remove the bolts, slide those out, and then pull the arms out. The head does just pop out. It's just basically held on with a peg, and the legs you just have to remove the hind sections, and then again just remove the big die-cast bolts. So I think you could disassemble it. I think it would work. I can't imagine it's. What did I have? I had some one transformer that I had that kind of once you put it together, that was kind of it. It was nigh on impossible to. I can't remember
it's
what
a
it was.
one-time thing when
Yeah,
assembled.
yeah. But
But
it
a
may have
great,
been something. May have been something like the. I can't remember how Gabriel arrived, like from DX9. It may have been
mm,
something like that. That once you push something in, the peg would then lock in, and that would be nearly impossible. But yeah, this thing I think it should be okay, but I wouldn't want to ship it to anybody because just because of the size and the cost. That's a kind of a one-time deal, isn't it? You pay to get it shipped here, and then if you're intending to then resell it, you've then got to ship it again. So
how
it's
much was the shipping, by the way?
I didn't pay for the shipping.
Oh,
I got it through a partnership, paid for the product, and
I
I
see.
they
Okay,
expedited it to me, which was great. So, but you're
that's awesome.
looking, I think the places like Shozi, because they Shozi do it via freight, I believe, and I think their shipping came out. I want to off just the top of my head, I want to say like a couple $100, I think.
Yeah,
That's CAD, so it wasn't actually that bad. Obviously, it was going to take like between 40 and 80 days to get here. Because it comes via ship, but at the same time, that's no different to kind of you pre-order and stuff, is it? It's kind of
yeah.
you just know that you're going to have the product, but it's going to
Yes.
be a couple of months down the line. So
It's just so fans toys of actually waiting for someone else to actually do it.
yeah, I
Right.
mean, I would love. I mean, I imagine the cost is probably going to be high, But I mean, with with Fans Toys, what you're going to get the good after service as well. You're going to get an extremely solid figure. Not that this is very good.
Yeah.
But I think Fans Toys they've got that kind of reputation now, haven't they? But I think it's going to be costly. I can see it being more.
Yeah.
Because they've already got you. They've already got you with the head. They're like got that many. They've kind of
It's
gauged
kind
the
of
audience. They think,
metaphorical that they actually gave us a head first. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So they've kind of gauged their audience, haven't they? They said, okay, well, these people have all bought kind of a Cerebros or
yeah.
like there you go. So maybe if they've bought into that, they'll definitely buy the bodies, and they've kind of got us over a bench. They can charge us whatever they want. So,
Of all
but
the companies that would have brought out first this monumental piece, would you ever think that it would be Lewin?
like, yeah, I just because their prime was something different as
Oh,
well.
yeah,
Um,
they have experience with this, right?
yeah, they did the big prime and it done well. And I think they proved to everybody then that that they can produce a large product. See, that was based on the MP10.
Yeah,
But it was superb. There was various different repaints. I think the overall reaction for the fans was good. I think the biggest challenge with them for this is to make something that size um, to look and transform the way it does, but also
yeah,
to keep the cost down.
yeah.
I
And
think
we
because
have to
if
point
they went,
out when that Prime actually came out, it was actually decently priced for the
yeah, yeah,
size.
it really was. Yeah, really, really was. Obviously the Prime was mainly die cast, wasn't it? With kind of heavy plastic. And obviously, with this, the size and weight of it, they had to keep it down to a certain weight, I think, for safety. So obviously, like the arms, the plastic, they're all like plastic. It's just mainly
Yeah.
the joints that are die cast. Um, but yeah, it's still solid. So I think it was, they didn't cut corners. They just had to weigh up where they could save money. And I think if they'd have done the whole thing in die cast, I think the price would just have been, I don't know, astronomical, I think. So.
Yeah, we're still waiting on that Davis, right?
Oh,
Everyone's
I loved it. I loved how it looked. Um, that was like toys, wasn't it?
yeah,
The
like
3D printed. Yeah,
I have a
because
friend that actually talked with someone from Like Toys, and this was I think 2 years ago. And the releasing of it should have been, I guess, last year. I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe I'm mistaken, but it should have been released by now, since we've been seeing a lot of images of it. I think
yeah,
the manufacturing is going to be an issue since everything was 3D printed, and they'd want to do an injection molding with this one.
yeah.
And if it's just going to be a small operation, you would think the cost would be really incremental with this because it would just be a one-time piece that they can't actually repaint, right?
Mm. Yeah, because I know they worked with Jim Bell for the
Yeah.
upgrade kit for their
Okay.
Devastator. But yeah, so this is a completely different venture altogether, isn't it? I mean, it would have been a massive. I mean, I've printed stuff, 3D printed stuff before, but I
Yeah.
think you can't just take a 3D printed file, can you? I don't think it works the same as you can then just get it injection molded. I don't think it's as easy just to transfer over like that. I think the tolerances are all different. But I mean, I wanted Metro. I wanted that thing. That was as G1 as we were going to
Yeah.
get. And yeah, it looked absolutely superb. And people were talking about it being like 2.5 grand, like that was US, and that's like, but then that would have been a
That's
one-time kind of
college money.
purchase, and yeah, 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 it really is, it really is. But it could have been like that one big purchase. But like my first car was way less than that, and then you get people. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but like Tiger Blade Customs.
Yeah.
He's 3D printed his own kind of Titans, and they're bigger than this guy, way bigger than this guy. I think his Fort Max is about 6 foot tall. I think he said,
Yeah.
and he's got like a Metroplex, and they're all, or is it Metro's kind of 6 foot, and maybe Fort Max is small, but he's got them all to scale, and these things are insane. They're crazy, and they look kind of G1, but then that's 3D printed. If you've got the time and the resources, I guess, then yeah, maybe printing your own would be cheaper than waiting for the like toys ones. So,
Yeah, with that being said, like the G1 stuff regarding masterpieces, it's almost dwindling down. We're almost
mhm.
able to complete it with the
Yeah.
new companies actually building the rest, like the Computron stuff. Do you think the only thing that's left for us collectors to actually expect is just shock value?
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is we have companies coming out and they're revisiting figures, and but I think like I this had this arrive the other day.
Mm, yeah,
I still haven't opened that yet, but I had the obviously we had to just the Takara one. That's fantastic. Then Bad Cube came out with theirs, and it's like, oh, this looks great. This is as cartoon accurate as we're ever gonna get. And then suddenly we've got like DX9
yeah,
releasing these, and it's like, oh, now we've got uh I've had I've got the Zeta Toys Bruticus, and then I got the MMC
yeah.
Bruticus, and then we've got the Magic Square MP Bruticus. They're all get and where does it stop? They're just getting so good at kind of mimicking that kind of G1 animation style that when we started collecting these figures like 7 years ago, they
Yeah,
they they were to us then they were the most cartoon accurate things we were ever going to get. We couldn't even
yeah.
imagine them looking and transforming like they do
Everything
now.
actually evolved from chugs, by the way. Like
Yeah, 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 yeah,
it's a weird
yeah.
space thing that they were able to do that and just get this mindset like clean lines, simple, no sculpt. We got the G1. Like that's basically just the formula.
Yep, yep,
It would have
absolutely.
cost them less for the molding,
Hmm.
by the way. Like, yeah, I guess in terms of shock value, the only shock we'd be getting is how accurate they could be. That DX9 piece, for me, that's an almost, just because of the
Yeah,
hands.
yep.
Like that, the hands are the one that's actually getting me paused. But how soon can we actually see Fanstoys actually coming up with their own? Because there has been rumors in the pipeline that there. Have you seen the images? I
If
don't know if these were actually mocked up renders or rumors regarding Fanstoys Sideswipe back in the day.
oh no, hadn't seen those.
Yeah,
Hadn't seen those.
I tried to
I mean,
find.
like I say, but like for like Fans Toys, they originally gave us they teased like a acoustic wave, didn't they?
Yeah,
Back and then obviously Takara gave
they
us
messed. Car messed that up.
yeah, yeah. So the Takara gave us kind of sound wave, but yet we ended up getting like well, basically acoustic wave. So it's so far down the line now, and it's incredible. It looks like cartoon sound wave. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, not to
I just
diminish in that the car sound wave, it still actually looks good to this
oh
day.
yeah, yeah,
One of the
yeah,
better uh MPs.
yeah.
Now, have we been spelling collectibles wrong all this time?
This is the Abels is the UK spelling. Because obviously
Yeah,
I was initially started this in the UK, and Ibbles, I believe, is the US spelling and the Canadian spelling. So it doesn't matter either or. I
yeah.
only it was only Abels because that was where I was. So I was in the UK. So
Why the
as
sudden
long as this bends.
transfer? Why the sudden move to Canada, by the way, if you don't mind me
Ah,
asking?
I always wanted to move to Canada. I've loved Canada since I was a kid. I was fascinated by it. And we had the opportunity to move out here in 2015. We first moved,
Yeah,
and that was on the East Coast. But that's then when I slipped and broke my back. And then we went back to England because I was in a wheelchair. And then it took us all this time to get the permanent residency again. And then, yeah, we came back over here. And uh, for my real kind of adult job, I work in film, TV, and advertising. So
mm,
I make commercials and do color grading and editing. But the film industry is big out here. I live in Alberta, which is kind
yeah.
of over the western side of Canada.
Canada,
And
the
yeah,
hometown of CW.
yeah, 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 yeah. But
Made
when
big
you can't
bucks.
get America, you go to Canada. Yeah. But we couldn't afford Vancouver. Vancouver was just crazy price. Toronto again was very much the same. But then we had the likes of like The Last of Us, and that they were then being filmed in Alberta, and it's just getting more and more popular because you've got beautiful lakes, you've got mountains, you've got prairies, you've got deserts, you've got everything here. So you can pretend it could be anywhere. So yeah, that was kind of very appealing, and the opportunity came to kind of move out here, and
Yeah,
we could get more for our money as well. You know, we could. I sold so much of my collection when we moved out here.
yeah.
Yeah, I love I love collecting. I've done it for years. It's been my kind of therapy. But at the same time, I was sitting on a house deposit. So I sold everything that I could. My logic was if I could buy it again in the future, sell it. You know, it will come a time again when you could pick it up. You may pay a little bit more for it in the future, but houses aren't always going to be there. So one came up, we put the deposit down,
Nice.
and boom, here we go. We have a Ben Den stroke man cave. So
Benden.
yeah, the Ben Den.
Awesome name. Benden. And you started reviewing your toys way back in, correct me if I'm wrong, back in 2010. That is a really long time.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, yeah.
Like, what was
Yeah,
your
I did.
motivation when you started your channel?
Um, Originally, I'd come out of the police force, and I was quite unwell, with the stuff that we'd seen and done in the
Yeah,
police, and I had therapy. It's called EMDR, which is cognitive eye therapy. It's almost like a hypnosis where you follow this blue LED
yeah,
light. If you can imagine like Knight Rider, but it would be blue, and you'd follow it in a dark room. And did that, and it kind of made me almost regress. And things like action figures, and I had like He-Man, Transformers, Thundercats. Those sorts of things were what I would remember from my childhood, and they were kind of my safety cushion.
yeah,
And I started kind of collecting, and then Facebook was still kind of, God, I really am old. Facebook was kind of new at the time, and there was groups and like forums as well on like TFW, and I think it was Full Metal Hero was another forum.
yeah,
And I got speaking to other people that have been in similar sorts of situations. They were like ex-military, ex-police, ex-fire, ex-ambulance, and they were doing the same. They'd gone
yeah,
through kind of like life-changing trauma, and they'd regressed, and they started collecting, and we built this kind of community. And I then kind of started just playing around with the camera, so I could share my thoughts to the other members of the community. And they said, "Oh, you got a very nice voice, Ben. We can listen to you." I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
thank you." Like, "Oh, we listen to you to go to sleep." It's like, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, it kind of stemmed from there, and I got some contacts, made some friends in Hong Kong as well. And then we eventually kind of dipped into the third party market, and we started getting these kits in, um, and started reviewing those. And then that was the same sort of time as we had like Fans Hobby doing their like Rodimus kits and things like that.
yeah.
And yeah, it kind of just was it Fans Hobby? Fans Project. It was Fans Project, wasn't
Dance
it?
Project and Perfect
Yeah, yeah,
Effect.
yeah, yeah.
It was
So they
really
they would
early,
they
like the Ultra Magnus set for the Chug Optimus Prime.
yeah. And I think I've got what have I got here?
Still got it?
Uh, Now I've got the first DX9 upgrade kit. Hang on. Hang on.
Like to our audience, this is a piece of history.
Oh, oh, this one.
Yeah, that's a huge piece of Transformers history.
Yeah,
You
I used
still,
to. I absolutely loved. Mind you, that's 2014, so it's not. It's still. Maybe they had done. Maybe that's one of their first kits, isn't it?
yeah,
But yeah, yeah, that's when animated was a big thing as well because we got was it C8 CHMS? I think it was the KO brand. They were doing the animated RCs in different colors, I think.
yeah. I started collecting back in 2007, and I collected the movie line and the animated stuff. Like
Yeah.
those were
Yeah.
really cartoon accurate.
Yeah, the animated stuff was brilliant. I always remember I used to watch uh Pure. I used to watch
Yeah,
him, and I think it was him and
Sean
Octopotamus as
Long.
well. I think, Yeah,
the
Sean as
bottom.
well. They used to get like the animated stuff early. They'd get it
Yeah.
from like China, and they were reviewing stuff. And I think was it Pure that had he had one of the Seekers that hadn't been released as well. He had like
Mm.
a repaint, and it's like oh, and I don't think it may have been like Thundercrack or somebody like that, and they still didn't get released, and
And sometimes
he
it's
got it
nice to
early.
watch their old videos. You see the quality back then. Now
Uh,
they
uh,
the
uh,
audio is so bad.
yeah. Oh,
We eat
sounded
it
like I
up.
was in a bucket, and yeah, there was no light, no lighting. Everything was kind of filmed on old cameras or on like old cell phones and stuff. And but oh yeah, like, you're
What were
making
you
me
starting gear
reminisce.
back then when you started back in 2010?
I think I had a Samsung phone. I think
Mm.
we was just using that. And I want to say a photo tent to begin with. It may have been paper. It may have even been paper. Because I remember when I initially started, I intended to take pictures of absolutely everything that I had, all of the figures that I had coming in, all of like my Power Rangers
Yeah.
and that at the time as well, and all my Marvel Legends. I wanted to take pictures, and I was going to do this whole thing where I had a whole catalog, and then I started collecting, and yeah, that wasn't going to happen. I wasn't going to take pictures of everything that was coming in. It was
Yeah, I remember
yeah.
Jobby's old videos. He had backdrops using table napkins. Like when we start, we make do with what we have, right?
Yeah, we do. Really do. You just kind of say people getting into it now. People say, "Oh, what do I need to buy?" I mean, I said, "But you've got like a phone. If you've got a phone on you, like the quality on like the iPhones, the Samsungs, the Pixels, the Huawei's, anything like
Almost
that."
similar to any DSLR camera you have.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to go out and buy stuff specific for it now. You can get bare minimal lighting. I mean, my lighting setup isn't brilliant here. The room itself is fantastic, but I haven't done this corner yet where all my office is. 'Cause I normally work in the dark. I normally kind of have this section dark and have my monitors so I can grade.
Yeah,
But yeah, you just need a couple of lights. You can get a very cheap microphone. If you're doing something like this, you could use headsets, or you get like the Rode mics or something like that, or the
yeah,
DJIs. They're going to probably be your biggest expenditure of like I don't know, a couple of $100. You're going to have crisp, clean audio, or you can get the Apple microphones, like the headsets. They've got really crisp audio, and
yeah.
you don't have to
Teaming
go.
and Wish could that probably help if you're on the budget, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't. I always try and say buy buy once, so you don't have to keep buying again. So I normally try and buy the best I can afford. But yeah, I've had these like I normally use a Rode mic when I
Yeah.
film. Other brands are available, but it's normally crisp, clear. Um, yeah, you don't need to go crazy these days, do you? And like you said, Jobby started with like blankets. I started with pieces of paper. You can get like a big A3, A2 piece of card, tape it
Yeah.
to the wall, have a curved surface. Boom, you've got a nice clean just like backdrop. So
It's all about the passion of what you want to do, right? How
absolutely,
far you can
yes,
actually take it.
yeah.
A bit of a deep cut here, right? How much has Ray I Love Miss influenced your early choices in your channel?
Oh, oh, Ray was fantastic. He was fantastic.
We miss him, by the way.
Oh, I saw him a couple of years ago. Just I think he was at CF Nation, just kind of there in the background, and a lot of the younger generation didn't know who he was, and
Mm.
that was sad. Because he was fantastic. He was kind of one of the pioneers here. Well, back in England, he was a big part of that community. He would
He's, I guess
always
he's a
respond
lot
to people.
more calmer than Theo by five
Yeah,
levels.
yeah. Very, very, very different people. Hugh is everything. I mean, I know him. I've met him. I've worked with him. He's fantastic. He's
Yeah,
exactly what you see on the camera. Absolutely incredible. But yeah, the likes of Ray. Also, I mean, even like Dave Mentz. He's a good friend. I used to watch his videos. Graham the Collector 75. He was the one that
Yes.
got me into knockoffs. He had some incredible knockoffs. He had like a giant. Oh, I can't think what they were called. Some of like the universe figures. They had like it's like a Devastator.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's like a seven bot combiner or something like that. But he had these massive knockoffs. He would just get the most random things, and he was able to find them. And then yeah, that got me into like the crazy knockoff spiral that led me to places like KO Toys, and then onto Sir Toys,
Yeah.
and then onto a whole separate channel dedicated just to
Yeah.
knockoffs.
I was actually about to ask you that. Like you started in 2018. Why did you decide to separate this content from your main channel?
my I was working at the time. I'd actually had contacts with Hasbro. I had contacts
Yeah.
with Nintendo. I was working with Lego, and I wanted to keep it kind of professional.
Mm.
You don't bite the hand that feeds you. Um, and I was reviewing like knockoffs, clear knockoffs of stuff that some of these other companies were producing, and it's like, no, let's keep this separate. Let's put them over here and keep them here. That was the basic logic behind it. And then I actually found it helped. It helped kind of tidy everything up. So if people wanted to look for knockoffs, they'd know exactly which channel to go to, rather than having to dig through. And yeah, I didn't expect it to take off. It's done okay. I didn't expect it to take off that well. I just thought I can just move stuff across, kind of have it all over here, just so people have it all in one space. And yeah, and then knockoffs kind of took off. We had all of like the movieverse stuff. Then we had the likes of Wei Zhang and Black
Yeah.
Mamba,
Famously
kind of
Wei Zhang,
oversized.
the Black Apple stuff.
Yeah, yeah. They started oversizing, and yeah, it just blew up. That was I wasn't expecting that. That's I thought I'll keep doing what I was doing on the regular channel, and I'll just do this as kind of I'd say a side hustle. It's not a side hustle because there's
Yeah.
no money in YouTube at all anymore at all.
Yes.
But you know, I gained extra fans. I had extra fans on the knockoff channel that didn't even know about the regular channel, and so that was good. You know, it did exactly what it needed to. So
Yeah, just to put it out there, you actually brought me back to collecting Transformers with that channel. Like I was so
should I
downtrodden.
apologize? I'm sorry.
No, no, no. It's all good with my wife. It's better than women, right? It's better than another woman. Like I was so downtrodden when it comes to the quality that's being put out back in the day that I stopped collecting all in all. Like I'm not gonna be giving Hasbro any more of my money. Then your channel introduced me another way to actually spend my money. Like, thank you.
Yeah, as long as Hasbro don't hold me solely responsible for
That's right. No, it is kind of crazy to think that when we see these main companies, we kind of give pause of actually buying it and just wait for the KOs, not because of that it's cheaper, maybe because if it's gonna be a much better quality than what we're
yeah,
supposed to be getting from the original.
yeah,
It's weird to think that way.
yeah. It is. I mean, it's probably bad to think like that, isn't it? But you've got
Yeah,
who have we got at the moment? I think it came out. I think, was it Byway or I don't know how they pronounce it. Is B
yeah. By
I
way,
E? Yeah, yeah. They were basically part of Black Mamba, if I
yeah,
remember correctly. I think it was like the same designer, and yeah, they give us like the add-on kits. They give us their die cast. They tighten up
yeah,
joints. They fix any tolerance. I mean, I always have to give props to Hasbro because I think it's
yes.
always easier to improve on somebody else's work. I mean, if somebody gives you their homework, it's easier to copy it and just change some words, isn't it, rather than writing your whole piece.
Yeah.
So Hasbro for the great for their initial designs, but yeah, I think people do. People wait for the kind of knockoffs because they want more definitive
And I've
version of
just
that character. They say,
and I've just thought about this recently, like with us getting the KO stuff, we know the R&D has already been paid by Hasbro. But with the amount deducted for the KOs, you kind of get the picture of how much was actually spent for the R&D.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, this brings about a new question. Does that justify what we are getting from the R&D? So, with the amount being spent,
Uh, I mean, I know obviously Hasbro have the licenses to
yeah,
pay, and they have to justify the likeness of things. But you take, I could go. I was going through my figures. I was trying to get
yeah,
stuff kind of priced up. I want to get everything insured, so it's. But you look, and some of the most expensive figures are still like I've got the MP44. Now, obviously,
mm,
that's Takara. But I think that was ended up being about £300. I think I paid for that, which is the equivalent of about $500.
yeah.
And I could buy
Still the
like,
same price, by the way, up to this point.
oh my gosh, but I could buy like 6 or 7 KOs, well, maybe not that many, but you know what I mean. You could buy those, and you could. I mean, I try and buy an official release if I can.
Yeah,
Um, At the moment, it's crazy anyway because things sell out so quickly. I wanted to get like a an official Rhinox when it came
yeah,
out, and it was just gone. And then like a week later, the KO came out. So it's like, okay, yeah, we'll jump on that. That's fine. I like to have an official one, which I'll then generally keep in vehicle mode, and I'll have like the KO for like bot mode if I can afford to. Obviously, everything costs money. But
yeah,
yeah, you look at like going to places like we've still got Toys R Us over here in Canada, and you can pick up a small kind of Voyager figure, and they're like 70, $80. And that's like that's crazy. It's such a small piece. And
yeah. It's not
you
even the
see like
size
the
of the Voyager that we had before, right? It's
no,
actually
not
much
at all.
more smaller.
And you look at the like the new Devastator,
Yeah,
the Studio Series one, and I think it looks incredible. It does look good, and I think a lot of people are going to be happy with it. But then you look at how small it is in comparison to what we got with Combiner Wars, and
yeah.
then you can
I,
see
s-
the hollow parts, and you think
yeah.
third parties are just sitting there
I, s-
going, "Oh
I
yeah,
still would,
I've got."
I still would contend that Devastator should have been in HasLab instead of the Leo Kaiser.
Yeah, I think so. I think if they'd have put the money into it, they could have filled like the gaps. Like you say, you've got third parties. They're
Yeah,
gonna give us fillers. They're gonna give us add-on kits for it. They're laughing. They're gonna probably make way more money off
yeah,
the add-on kits for this than Hasbro will off Devastator. But yeah, Leo Kaiser does look good though. He looks really good. Um,
yeah. It does actually.
not the right scale for
Not the
me.
right,
I
not
like
right steel,
no,
but
but yeah, it
still.
looks. But then the Iron Factory one was good as well. Iron Factory did a
Yeah,
really
if they
good
only
job.
just upsized that one,
Yeah,
would have been sweet. Like
yeah,
Magic Square is already influencing the type that you can do when it comes to engineering, just simply upsizing it and just
yeah,
adding on a bit more engineering to it. I think that's the way to go now. Like do Legends, just upscale it a bit. You already have the R&D for some parts and just make a couple of changes.
yeah. I mean, I think Magic Square are onto something. Um, I think for since the kind of legend thing took off big, like with Magic Square and New Age, as soon as they started releasing those, people were like, we need this, but in masterpiece scale. This is what we need because that's that masterpiece quality, but it's you could just get so many more on the shelf. So I completely get why people collect the legends. They look incredible. I've got the odd one because I wanted to have them
Yeah,
around Metro, but I just think it's a rabbit hole. I think if you go down that legends route, that's a scary rabbit hole that you're going to end up buying everything because they're incredible. But yeah, I don't blame Magic Square at all. If
yeah. I
it's
mentioned it before that Metroplex you have back there. It's now a must-have for Legends collectors.
I think so. I think it's going to look
That's gonna be in
in,
scale.
yeah. I think I mean the exact scale I think was I had it posed with my X Transbot Perceptor. He came with the
Yeah,
mini Autobots. He had got like himself and Bumblebee and that, and I
yeah,
had them on Metroplex's kind of neck cuff. and they just peek over, and I thought, oh, these look superb. So I think in theory that's probably exactly the right scale, but Legends are going to look so good. I mean, you think about having a Metroplex like that, and you have like I say it, New Age or the Magic Square's Devastator down by his feet or something like that, and they're
Yeah.
all you can make a whole battle scene. It looks so good. So I really would.
Did you ever imagine that in 2025 we'd still have a Devastator war? Or aren't we actually through with that before? Like,
Oh, no, I think I've got, I don't know if you can see him. Yeah, I've got the, where is he
you got
there?
everyone, right?
I've got the, that's the X Transbots scrapper. I got him to play around with. I've got like a huge backlog of stuff I still haven't even looked at yet. But yeah, I've got Toy World's Devi. I've got the Jimbao Devi. I started collecting Fans Toys one. And now I've started collecting the the X Transport one as well.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to have to go. I can't justify having all of those. Although combiners, you could have bot mode, vehicle mode, and combine mode, can't you?
Yeah.
So
The one thing
maybe I could
about
just,
combiners, you get to buy
yeah,
multiple of them.
maybe I can justify three. I don't, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. We'll see. Um, but yeah, I can't believe that in this day and age, the third parties are still doing this. I can't. Why? I mean, this is why I love like this fans hobby.
Yeah.
Nobody else has given us like Energon, Armada. Uh, we've got loads of Master Force from them. Why not, rather than giving us another Devastator, why not give us MP Computrons? Why not give
Yeah.
us like an Abominus? Why not give us like a cartoon accurate um, Predaking? We've got some really stylized ones, some really nice ones. But I want kind of Call of the Primitives style Predaking, that really nice look to him. Um, there's loads of other options they could give us, and
It's
they all
not
kind
like
of
Takara
chase.
and Hasbro don't know what's in our collection right now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
They could actually capitalize on what's actually missing.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, I know that they know what's going on. Um, like people say they're gonna shut these other companies down. I don't think. I mean, they shut Weijang down. Um,
yeah.
because obviously they were literally just ripping off and oversizing and stuff. But I think they've known the third parties, but look at their sales. They know that they can deliver. They know there's gaps in the market, but I don't know. I can't collect them all. I want to. I want to.
You want.
Yeah.
Speaking of collecting them all, is there a grail that you still haven't gotten that you really want to have?
Uh, I don't really have grails anymore. I there's things I've sold in the past that I regret selling. Um, I used to collect Brave. Do you know about Brave?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so it's Takara Brave. I had the Great Gold Run revival set, and it was gorgeous. It was like the three figures, I think it was, wasn't it? And they were all kind of gold plated, and they made this huge, very kind of like Predator King-esque combiner, and it was superb. Um, I loved what they were doing with Brave, but I sold off all of mine very early on when we first started renting a
Yeah.
house together, me and my wife. And yeah, I'd love to get some of those back, but I think it may even be Takara that are now doing them. There's kind of like a Brave revivals kind of thing coming. Is it Brave? Is it Takara or maybe like Sentinel or somebody like that? But I've started seeing like X Kaiser and people like that now being
Mm.
released again, but obviously fully articulated, and that's like, oh, now those I would like, but they hold their value.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can justify spending like a month's shop on, on
Like I've seen
that's
how
like a month's
diverse
food shop.
I binge watch your channel. Like if you've seen a sudden spike in your traffic, that's me. So so you have a pretty diverse portfolio when it comes to your content. What caused you to actually streamline it Transformers over the years?
It, it's just, I guess it became my favorite. It was probably always my favorite toy as a kid, but I didn't necessarily have that many Transformers. My parents used to buy a lot of my toys used from we called them car boot sales. They were like basically like a big huge yard sale in a field. And they used to buy a lot of my action figures and that used. And we would get a lot of He-Man, a lot of Thundercats, kind of Supernaturals, what else like Visionaries, things like that. They were just all scattered wrestling figures. Um, so when I started collecting, I wanted everything. I wanted absolutely everything I had as a kid, and I'd grab what I could. But it was Transformers is what I would kind of was brought up on. I was born in '84, so I was kind of renting videos of Transformers that had been out for a while. So then I had that into like the '90s, when I was kind of then going into kind of junior high. We had like Beast Wars,
Yeah.
and so I was kind of that generation, and I was at that point when I was at that kind of strange age where you weren't sure if you should still be getting toys, because you had like all the cool friends, and
I'm
then
still in
I was
that
doing
age,
things
by
like
the way.
so I then didn't get a chance to get any like the Beast Wars stuff. Um, and then we had like the Armada and everything that all then came out. And then when I started collecting again, and then obviously I had my first son, and he started watching things like
Yeah.
Cybertron, and he watched Energon Armada, and then he started watching Beast Wars as well. And it was at that point I was thinking, now these are what I miss. You know, I started getting some of those in, and they just kind of took over. Everything else just kind of forgotten about. I'd have my action figures posed on the shelf, which was great. You know, they looked great, and I thought, oh yeah, I had that when I was a kid. That when I was a kid. But I would always go to the Transformer shelf. I was always pick something up. I'd always fiddle with it. I'd always move it around. I'd always pose it. I'd always have like these little storylines and flashes from my childhood of watching it. And that just, I didn't have that connection with the other toys. I loved collecting things like Marvel Legends, for example.
Yeah.
I was big into those when I first started, because it was kind of new to me, and I loved comics as a kid, but I never had any Marvel action figures or anything like that. I didn't have that connection with them. And then yeah, when these things started coming out, and you like this Metroplex, this is how I remember the
Yeah.
Metroplex. When I was a kid, though, I remember it being like this. It was gigantic to me. I had it from one of these car boot sales. I didn't have any fists. He didn't have slammer with him. It was
Mm.
literally kind of the bare bones. Stickers were all peeled, but it was glorious. It was fantastic. And but I saw it as being like 10 foot tall, and yeah, and I still get that with Transformers. I still get you get it in hand, and you think this is like my childhood, and you get the ratchets going, and oh,
Yeah. Like
you don't get that with anything else.
I think Bobby pointed this out with regards to how the toys back then, the cartoons actually looked in real life. Your brain as a child actually fills the gap with the difference. Like these are major differences. Like Ironhide doesn't have a face. So so but you get to play with him and just still call him Ironhide.
Yeah,
So
it's
what
the same. It's the same. Yeah.
yeah, the 80s is such a strange time. Like it just has a hold on us when it comes
Yeah.
to nostalgia. I don't know what it is about the 80s that we're so fixated on it. Like of all the franchises that have existed, why do you think Transformers has that much staying power in the world's cultural zeitgeist?
I think I don't know. I we were kind of the 80s kids and the early 90s were kind of the last generation of kids that weren't brought up with computers, I guess. We had computers. I had like a games console when I was a kid. I had like I think I had like a Pong game, then I got like a Master System, then I went over to Nintendo, stayed with those for a bit. Um but we weren't really brought up with like we didn't have the internet, did we? When was the internet? Was it like 95 most places, I think, wasn't it? Or 97, something like
It
that?
was on dial-up, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if your mum went on the phone, then you would disconnect anyway.
you're done.
But we didn't have access to all of this information. I think there was too much out there nowadays. And when we were kids, it was all make believe, wasn't it? It was all pretend. We would literally have to just go and play on our own, or we go and do something. And I think maybe that's why it stuck with us. And plus, all of the like, the shows had incredibly awesome theme tunes. I mean, half of the 80s TV shows were like rock ballads. I mean, like look at Thundercats. That was like one of the best theme tunes of all time. And it was just like this heavy metal, and it's like,
Yeah.
what?
Galaxy
You don't get that.
Rangers.
Yeah,
Galaxy Rangers as the one of the
you don't get
greatest
that
theme.
now. You don't get any of that. I think we kind of lost that mid kind of 90s. Beast Wars tried something different. It was like CGI, and to me, that was almost like real life. You look back at it now, yeah, uh, it's not brilliant, but again, that was something different, and that stuck with us. They were doing something that other people weren't. But again, they played on that nostalgia, didn't they? By kind of like the end of season three,
Yeah,
it was tied
it
into
was good.
G1 again.
Do you think that's the
Uh,
formula? Like everyone, I think coming 2000s, everyone's attention span is actually pretty short. Like, do
yep.
you think that actually is a factor?
I, I I think so. I think that's affected Hasbro as well. I mean, you think how intricate I mean, you got some of the figures we got in Cybertron line, or maybe like Armada
Yeah,
Energon. So the complexity, even up to like 2007, when you got the leader class prime, the the amount that's involved in his transformation, I've always dreaded it. I hated transforming that figure.
yeah, especially for the
Was it
for the
and there were
Cybertron
was it two?
line.
Yep.
For the Cybertron line, the animation and the cartoon is the same transformation as the toy. It's basically an instruction manual on how
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
transform the toy.
Yep.
So they even went that distance to actually engineer it that way. That was really impressive back then, and compared to what
Yeah,
we
I
have
think so.
now.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't the 2007, was it? It was the Revenge of the Fallen. So when was
Revenge of
that?
the Fallen was
2009 maybe?
2000. Yeah, about
It's that.
yeah
So that yeah, the
2009.
yeah, the leader class figure was I hated the transformation on that, but I think nowadays because kids have such a short attention span, and it's nothing against the kids. It's not it's the way the media is geared up now. I mean, TikTok is a swipe generation. It's literally if you don't capture somebody's attention span within 6 seconds, they will swipe up. That's how it works. And so they have to have like a 9 step transformation, and that's it. And I think for the adult collectors, I think maybe that's why they they don't necessarily have that passion for some of the more recent Hasbro products. I think maybe they have kind of oversimplified them. Um, that being said, um, the new what are Takara calling the new masterpiece line with the new
MPG, like
MPG? Yeah, yeah. I saw the uh the Godgin. I
yeah,
saw that yesterday. That was at the poker tournament, and obviously I saw it in your last interview as well. Um, and the right the A stance on the thighs
yeah,
is
it was
ridiculous. It
criminal.
goes from this to like that. That's like no, just put a couple of ratchets in there. Um, but it was good, but it's small, and I was expecting it to be like have some more heft to it, and I felt I don't want to say yeah no, I will. I felt underwhelmed. I'm glad I didn't buy it. It's still I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy with it. I think scale wise, I always thought it looked too small, but if you stand it next to Star Saber, it's probably about the right size because I think they were very similar height. Um, but
It
yeah,
is the
I don't
first
know.
time they actually went against the Sunbow scale.
So,
They're actually just renewing the downsizing of stuff.
I don't want downsize. I like the oversize.
This is supposed to be the pinnacle of your line. If it's the same size as your main line, could you even call it as a masterpiece? Like you need to transform it to actually get a feel that it's an MP, but standing side by side, like we had the train set, right? And everyone
Yep.
has been calling that thing a chug instead of an
Yeah.
MP. So I
Yeah.
think that was a testament to the direction. I don't know if they were out of touch regarding it, or this is they're just sticking to their guns. This is the direction that we're going in terms of our belief and our and mostly, I guess, profit wise.
Yeah.
That's the
I,
most
I'd like
valuable.
I'd like to think they're not going to reset the entire line. Um, I don't know. It'd be crazy, wouldn't it? It'd be crazy to go that route. Um, I think they're reissuing Ironhide, aren't they? I believe, and they're doing him as Diaclone. I think I read that, and you would assume that these are existing molds, so they would keep
Yeah.
them at least at the same height.
Yeah, if they're
But
gonna be reissuing it, better be better than what we have now, considering two of the biggest names in the game of third party actually has released is releasing their one of them has released their Ironhide, which is a transport,
yeah,
which is
and
another
then
discussion for some other
Fanstoys.
day.
So,
Yeah, hopefully they do better with this one. They own their
yeah,
product.
I don't imagine they're going to change anything. I I imagine that, but I'm just hoping they don't start downscaling things. I know if they want to run this separate line, if that's the route, because I saw the Predaking,
Yeah,
um,
that would have
and
looked so good if it's actually bigger.
that's the first thing I said. I'll wait for the oversized knockoff because it's the closest we're going to get to the Call of the Primitives. Look, it looks fantastic. I mean, we
Hmm.
had it with was it Unique Toys? It was, wasn't it? Unique Toys Warlord was obviously one of the first ones they did, and that was
Ooh,
plagued with
that was a
problems.
long time ago.
That was a very long time ago. But I mean, it was obviously based. It was based on a custom, which was a customized G1, and it was based on that, and it was then kind of a third party mold. But it looked really good, but it was a floppy mess. It fell apart. Um,
Yeah, and it
but
was
that was a
actually
very kind
put
of
in the wayside because of Feral Rex actually came along.
yeah, yeah, and obviously MMC were fresh in as well, but it was incredible. Feral Rex was a game changer. It was sturdy, really nice plastic quality. It was a different look. It had that kind of very kind of I would say kind of cartoon-esque, but it was very kind of chunky but aggressive. And
Intimidating.
yeah, exactly. And you had that kind of giant sword as well. And
Probably the most intimidating combiner design I've seen apart from Gravity Builder.
yep, yeah,
Right?
yeah, I can get behind that. I know Kang Toys. Obviously, they did their Predaking. I say Predaking. It was loosely based on Predaking, wasn't it? Which I liked, but it didn't tick the box for me, and
Yeah.
it went too far from the source material. I think it strayed too far. Again, that's that kind of really that had in my kind of my mind that had that same sort of aggression
Yeah.
that Feral Rex had when it came out. Is that kind of whoa, this thing is imposing. It was
Yeah,
really stocky and it was a
we were
good display
spoiled by the
piece.
IDW animation in the later episode.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They made it much more badass than they should.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any chance you can explain to our viewers what was auto assembly in Birmingham?
Auto assembly was the equivalent of TFCon. It was basically a big convention where all Transformer fans would gather together. We would have panels, we'd have guests, we'd have artist alleys. Um, Auto assembly finished, closed its doors a few years back, but a lot of the team carried it on, and it then became TF Nation. So
Hmm.
it's the same. Yeah, I say it's the same event. It's not. It's a lot of the same crew carrying on that same sort of idea. But yeah, it's very. it's just easier to kind of liken it to things like BotCon or to TFCon. It's that sort of event. They have good guests. They have really good um, stalls. I've had a couple of tables there as well. I've been lucky enough to sell some of my wares there. There's some really good shops, a lot of good dealers there, and the artists' alleys are fantastic. You get like people designing their own stuff, and you've had like IDW artists in there as well, and like Nick Roche was there, and the
Mm.
stuff they produce is just it's fantastic.
Why did it
So
actually end, by the way? Why the sudden shift?
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with Auto Assembly. I don't know if if it was just kind of run its course or if they went on to do other things. I'm not sure. But I know TF Nation is still going. That happens every year. I think this year they've got a load of the Beast Wars cast.
Mm.
I think they've got a lot of the Beast Wars cast there doing voice work, and they normally do. Again, I think TF can't do something similar. They do like the script read, where they read the parts and stuff. It's always good, and I've never gone to events like that for to like get signatures or anything like that. I don't. I like the people. I think they're very talented, and I think it's great. And at places like TF Nation, you don't normally have to pay for signatures either. It's all kind of included in the price. You just queue and they sign stuff. But it was just always a way of meeting up with friends and just chatting. We would generally go to the bar because I'm British, so we just drink all the time. Uh, we'd generally just go to the bar and you just see all your friends there and you just show off your toys, show off what you'd brought, and just sit there and have a play and just kind of look around and you just see everybody from all different backgrounds, all different lifestyles, all just kind of gathering around for their love of Transformers, and it's fantastic. And I will go to something the same out here. I've been to a TF con before. I was lucky enough to kind of sit on a panel with Vangelis. That was
Mm.
fun. So I'd love to do something like that again. But baby steps. I've just
Yeah.
paid for a house.
They possibly changed that because of SEO. Like if you type auto assembly, something different would actually appear.
Maybe.
Like, is there any part in your collecting experience and reviewing on YouTube, like with the gift of hindsight, you would have done differently or just completely avoided?
I don't know. I would maybe have kind of trimmed um my niche, kind of fine-tuned it more to begin with. I did at the beginning when I started, like I said, I was just trying to use it as kind of a therapy, and kind of just talk about the toys, and I was just talking about everything as well. And maybe I'd love to have kind of fine-tuned that first, I think maybe earlier. Um, I don't know. I would like to dedicate more time to YouTube these days. I'm not on here anywhere near as often as I should be, just because I work long hours. I work long hours. I travel a lot. I'm often traveling up and down the country, and I don't necessarily get time. But I love this. This is what I love to do. I'd love putting the content out there. Uh, Takes longer now. I'd love to not be so picky with my edits. Some people can just do lives and they release that as the edit. They don't cut it all up, but I can't do that. I work as an editor by trade. I can't just I can't just
You're a
record something and not
perfectionist?
edit it.
Do you consider yourself as a perfectionist when it comes to these things?
I try to be. I spend too much time. I mean, most average review I do, even if it's like a 20-minute video, it's taken me at least 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours at least. Um, and then you've got that's like the filming, that's the editing, that's the sound correction, the color correction, the upload.
Yeah.
Um, so if you see like a big 40-minute video, you know I've at least spent like 3, 4, 5 hours, and some of the time it doesn't pay you to get stuff early anymore. So a lot of the third party companies, if they produce something early, they'll give you no instructions at all. So you have to kind of fiddle your way around and try and figure it out for yourself. And that takes
Yep.
so much time. and then I'll release a video and I'll get a message like 4 years down the line saying you transformed this wrong. This is you done this wrong. You done this wrong. You done this wrong. And yeah, I probably did because I didn't have any instructions and I'm going into a completely blind. So all videos should come with a disclaimer that I don't know what I'm doing. I'm figuring things out as we go. I mean, I always like transform things like two or three times before I do a video anyway. But it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to try and figure out some of these instruction manuals. You're looking at them, you're turning up. I mean, the Metroplex did have an instruction manual that was in like the third box, and it's a piece of paper this big. And that's like, okay, just make of that what you will. There's a few pictures of him in different modes, but we just kind of figured it. We kind of based it loosely on what we did with the Generations Metroplex and thought, well, that's kind of the same. Um, yeah, so maybe I should like have put a disclaimer with all my videos when I first started that yeah, transformation may differ slightly in the if instructions are released. Um,
When was the last time you received a test shot, by the way? Do they still give out those reviewers?
not some I don't know because I don't work directly with companies anymore. I only work with stores.
Hmm.
I've worked with companies in the past and they expect you to give them a shining review, and I don't want to do that. If I like the figure and I'm excited for the figure, I'll say that. I'm like, if there's an issue with it, I'm always going to say there's an issue with it. I don't want stuff coming back to me. I can only review what I've got in hand. If I've got a great copy in hand, that's a great copy. But you get, I don't know. I think it's always better to work with the shop. Like I work very closely with like Shozi, and if they get samples in, they say, Ben, will you be interested in reviewing this? Will you be interested in reviewing that? There aren't many anymore. I don't get many come
Yeah.
through. I don't think the stores get many, but they'll send it out, and they don't care. They don't care what my thoughts on it are. If I can send some traffic to their site, great for them. Um, but they don't care. There's no bias. You know, if I get a figure in hand and it's rubbish, you tell people that you got a figure, it's rubbish, but you got that rubbish figure from Shozi. So go here. Um, they're just going to get the traffic on the site, and chances are, if people don't like the figure, or if I don't like the figure, it's just you can go on there. You can then look if you look on the figure on their site, for example, they've got reviews from other customers as well, which is great because you can say, okay, Ben doesn't like the figure, but if you look here, these guys have said this about it as well, and maybe that would be more in kind of more suited to what I collect. Um, Everybody has an opinion, and I think that's the reason I love this community so much. I think because you can go on and you can see like 15 different reviewers, and like five of them will hate the figure, and the rest will absolutely adore it because everybody has different taste, everybody has a different budget. I think if you've got a top end budget, um, like if you can afford like the top end figures, then great. But you then can't really judge somebody if their top end is half of what yours is, and they're
Yeah.
buying up to the best what they can afford.
And some of them are
I,
just living vicariously through you. Right? I've experienced that with my viewers. Like some of them would say that I love this if only I can afford it, but thank you for actually checking it out.
yeah, yeah. Again, I think that's part of the community, isn't it? It's that love. Some people do. They just want to see something new. They want to see these figures in hand. I try and record a clear video. I try and have good sound. I try and have good lighting so you get accurate colors. Purple is horrible. The purple toys are always the hardest to match on camera. It's a
Yeah,
nightmare. It's the color science. It's so
just experienced that
officially
recently.
officially we don't see purple.
Yeah,
Officially, it's a lack of a color, and our brain fills it in with purple. That's why it's so difficult to match purple on monitors. But yeah, so I try and get it as accurate as possible. I try and make it nice and clear. But like you said, people do. People live through us. Um, I'm very very lucky. I'm very blessed to be in the position I'm in. Like I said, we've got this house. We've got nice space. I sold the collection, but at the same time, I didn't have to sell everything. I've still got a very like very good collection. Mine maybe mine's dwarfed by some other people's, but some other people may have the odd shelf and think, well, Ben's collection is ridiculously large. It's
Yeah.
I've been in some of the guys here in Edmonton and that, and they're like, it's a dream. It's literally like
Yeah.
going into Toys R Us. You're looking around, and I was just a big kid in a toy shop. Their collections are insane. Um, but yeah, people, I think sometimes it's enough for people just to kind of have a look at the figures and think, well, that's great, and that in itself is the entertainment they need. They don't necessarily need the figure themselves. Um,
Well, you would know you have a condition if you have every color of Make Toys and you're still collecting it now. Right?
yeah, yeah. Oh, I've got a couple. That's all I did. I did a couple of the Make Toy Seekers, and then I got the KO of the is it the what's the Mark II version of Starscream? The MP is MP 50? No, I don't know. But anyway, the new MP Starscream
MP
Day.
is oh,
They've done the head.
MP6 is Megatron, right?
I don't know. So yeah, maybe. I don't know. There's just so many now as well, isn't there? But I got
Yeah.
like the head. I got the head of that Starscream, and it fits on. It's like a kind of modded head, and it fits on the Make Toys Seekers. And I always thought the heads were very small. So yeah, so I got some of those, but yeah, I can't collect every rainbow color. They're just no, nope, no, 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 nope.
Okay, we're nearing the tail end of our interview now, and there's a question they want to ask you. And tell me if you don't want to answer this one. So I figured I'd just shoot my shot with this. Like you just mentioned a while ago regarding you being an officer of the British Transport Police, right?
Hmm.
So what was the significance of that in shaping your character as a collector, as a reviewer, and as a person?
Oh, I I always wanted to be in the police force when I was a kid. I that was literally my main ambition was to be a cop. Um, but when I got into the police, it was very different. It wasn't what I'd ever imagined. I worked in London. Um, we covered some very rough areas, lots of drugs, lots of violence, and I'm not a very violent person. I've always been of the mindset if I can diffuse a situation, I will. I'd rather try and break up a fight than escalate
Yeah.
it. And unfortunately, some of the my colleagues weren't of the same mindset as me, and I didn't. It didn't suit me. I didn't fit in. Um, we had a lot of incidents. Unfortunately, there was a lot of uh, I'd say, well, there's a lot of like fatalities and child suicides and things when I was there, and it was a huge spate of it, and you don't want to see that. I was like 21,
Mm,
and I think I saw like 16 suicides in my last like 4 months of service, and that's more than most officers will see in a lifetime. And for a 21-year-old to have their world kind of come crashing down like that,
yeah.
because everything I'd envisioned that you see on the TV as like it was all, I won't say a lie, but it was all, you kind of saw it all through like rose tinted glasses. Nothing was ever actually like that. It was just very raw. Um, but after, like I said, had that not have happened to me, I would not have then got the therapy and the help that I needed, and it wouldn't have shaped me to be the person I am today. I have grown as a person. I am happy. I've got an incredible family, a very supportive family. I'm able to give them things now that I didn't have as a kid. But yeah, it was an awful time. I would never say to people don't ever join the police because my experience could be completely unique to me, which is the wrong place, wrong time, and I was the wrong person. But yeah, I think had it not have happened, I wouldn't have known as much about myself as I do. I wouldn't have had the therapy. I wouldn't have then started collecting, and I wouldn't have met some of like the amazing people in this community that I have.
Mm.
And I wouldn't have a kick-ass collection with a giant transforming Metroplex in the
Yeah.
middle of my room.
Do
So
you think the dopamine hit when it comes to collecting actually helped you when it came to the therapeutic side of things?
I wouldn't say it helped. It was probably more of a hindrance. Because you're meant
Why?
to be kind of because you're meant to be kind of recovering, and it was meant to be like this kind of therapy where you hold these things that you held dear, and but then you like it's a very slippery slope. You're like, okay, I'll just one more, just one more, just one more, and then you start meeting up with other people and you see their collections and you're like, oh yeah, that looks good. Maybe I should do that. But they've got this, and I think I might need that. And then yeah, I had at one point I had like all of these NECA quarter scale figures. I
Yeah.
had all of these Braves. I had all the Thundercats. I had all the He-Men. I had all the Transformers, and it was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And yeah, you do get the dopamine hit. Um, but yeah, at some point you just need to say, okay, look, let's cut it back. What do I actually want? I've got a family, I've got bills
Yeah.
to pay, and you just have to take a step back and you think, do I really need this? Probably not. Do I really need three of this Devastator? Probably. But
You know what gets us collectors? It's probably the display of other collectors.
no, I was absolutely fine with this until I went around with my friend Roberts and saw
Yeah.
his, and it's like, oh man.
I I
Just-
always say there's a fine line between display and storage when it comes to these
yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah. See, he's got a lot of stuff in boxes. I can't do that. I can't be an inbox collector. If you got it, take it out your box. You got a
Yeah.
toy, play with it, pose it, have it out. I know a load of people are going to hate me for that because they're collecting, but no, no. If it's a toy, you get it out.
Yeah.
You have to touch it. It
I
has
would
to be. You have
I
to get
would
the
actually
feel.
agree with you. I have things in boxes, not because I want them in box, because I don't have the space.
Yeah, yeah,
Rather
yeah,
than them collecting dust. Like, sooner
yeah,
or later, if you
yeah.
have the space, it'll be out. And where do you keep the boxes, by the way? Do you keep them?
A lot of them I got rid of. The stuff that I've had since I've moved here, I've got in like a storage closet. It's just from top to bottom, just stacked.
Hmm.
Um, I think I keep some of the some of the nice boxes, some of the ones with the nice box art. I've got all of the fans hobby boxes because they really kind of remind me of the G1 boxes. Same with their Armada stuff, and I've got I think most of my fans toys boxes I've still got as well. Only because if I ever have to go to sell them again, the depreciation on a fans toys figure because there's no box is crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
you look the aftermarket price on a fans toys figure, you feel trapped. You have to order early now, otherwise you're gonna get stung like double the price
Yeah, the
after it's
latex is
released.
insane. Like, and then you're gonna be bit in the ass by the reissues. It's gonna be
Yeah,
punishing you.
yep, yep, yep. So
And remember the time when that Weird Wolf was actually priced at how much? Then they all of a sudden reissued it
yeah,
after
I
people
think
bought some on eBay.
I think people
What a
probably
slap in the
got.
face. Like,
I know. It's like they're now doing the reissues of their Superion figures, aren't they? But they're slightly different color. They're like, is it more of like a kind of more of a matte red? I think more less of a
they
metallic. I
made it
think.
they made it similar to how they painted the parts forming piece.
Yeah, yeah.
They made the reds actually be more cohesive, which is
See,
kind of a
I think,
dick
but I
move, I
it's a shame.
guess.
It's a shame they can't just kind of send those parts out to the fans that already bought it.
Yeah, it's not like they
Because
haven't done it
I've got
before.
most of I've got most of their figures. Because you're gonna get a fantastic piece, but they're really expensive. They ain't cheap. And they know it. They charge even to like the retailers. They give them. They have retailers have to order a certain amount of figures. The profit margin is small.
Yeah,
Um, so you think maybe they could just like send out, or even if they do like some print or like some sort of sticker or something, so you can make the colors match. Because it is a bit of a I don't know. It's kind of like a kick in the shins, isn't it? It's
like
like,
they're
oh, thanks for
punishing
buying
you
our
for
product.
like they're punishing you for being an early adopter. Like that sucks.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but people have also said that about X-Trans, haven't they, as
Yeah,
well? Because they said,
but
oh, because they've
they're still in
got
business.
versions. Yeah, they're like version two's come out, and they say, well, you shouldn't have bought the version one. It's like, oh, yeah, but I like the figure. It's just I want this faceplate, and that's come with version two. So
Hopefully, we don't get the same treatment with Minosaur, right? Been so long.
yes,
These things have been in the market. Like we've had these in our collection for what, 5 years now?
well, I may be wrong, but didn't the designer for Fans Toys leave? I think that the guy that designed the original combiners, the
Hmm.
original concept for Superion and Menasor, I think he left, didn't he? I think. And they got somebody else in, or they had another designer. That's when they then started designing things like Cup. Was it Cup? Was it Hot Rod? Something like there was a couple. There was a few that were a
Hmm.
bit iffish at the time, and I think it's kind of taken them this long. I mean, I love what they've got now. Some of the more recent designs are fantastic. They're definitely back on form.
Yeah, they
But
are.
that was my understanding that the guy left and he hadn't finished actually designing how that was all going to transform. So they then had to kind of figure it out. Because I
You would
remember
figure you
initially
would,
they was
yeah, you
go
would
on.
think someone that's a designer like that would be on contract to actually finish an entire project.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what I'd heard at the time, and I remember everybody hating on Zeta for having the faux legs and the faux chest, so everything would kind of slide
Yeah.
in, and they were saying this is how it should be done. This is how it should be done when fans toys tease theirs, and obviously it's come out and it's a kit, and it is basically the equivalent of
It's
what. Yeah.
yeah, it's
So
basically the norm now.
yeah, and I
How
mean it
it's
works. It does work, but at the same time, you can get a 3D printed kit at the moment that you just buy. You just buy the torso piece. I think it's like you get you get the figure with it, and it's like $300 for the fans toys or whatever it is. But then you can just buy this 3D printed kit, which turns that
yeah.
entire piece into Superion. So you don't actually need the rest of the figures for the Superion.
Yeah, it's basically
So,
just an action figure now if you think about all the upgrades and the 3D printed kits, right?
yep.
Well, what would be your best advice for people who want to start their own review channel? Or just start collecting Transformers in general? Or collecting toys like you had
Don't no no
before?
no. um no think about what you want to collect. Don't feel like you have to collect everything. My biggest issue at the moment is I still have that very much that completionist look, where I have to have a complete season. I've got my collections broken down into like season one Autobots, season one Decepticons, and I have that kind of I have it up here, but I have to collect everybody in that season. I don't have to collect everybody in the season. It looks great as it is at the moment, but I still
Yeah.
have that kind of mentality. Just kind of think about what you want to collect. Don't be scared if the figure doesn't resonate with you. Don't be worried about getting rid of it. You know, the used market on Transformers is equally as good. It's like don't feel you have to keep hold of a figure just because you've got it. You know, and in terms of YouTube, just do it. It's really easy. Just practice talking to your phone, something like that for a bit. If you want to have a script, I know Few has full scripts that he goes through. I've never used a script. I've always kind of just talked. It's probably why my editing takes so long because I cut so much of my waffle out. But yeah, just don't think you have to spend loads of money on a kit. Just use your phone, use a camera, whatever you have in hand. You can pick up some cheap lights, even like lights from like a dollar store or something like that. You know, you don't have to be spending big money. You've got places like Temu and Wish. You can order some lights and that from there. And yeah, just make sure you once you've recorded something, share it in the community. Go, there's various Facebook pages, there's various links on places like TFW. Just share what you've done. Um, and yeah, just kind of spread the word. Just be honest, talk about your stuff. I, YouTube's easy. YouTube's easy. It's if you want to start making money from YouTube, then that's a different ball game altogether. There's unless you're getting hundreds of figures a week, or you're one of these big time guys, there's not a great deal of money in YouTube anymore. I certainly don't do it for the money because I don't get paid jack. But I do it because I enjoy doing it. I enjoy talking like this. I enjoy um, just kind of venting my feelings about the figures. And I think if I can resonate with a couple of people and I get some sort of rapport going and we can chat in the comment section, I think that's kind of my job done. So
Awesome. Like, thank you very much, Ben, for spending an hour with me and with
yeah,
our
sorry,
viewers.
I've just talked all the time, haven't I? I'm sorry. So
That's the main idea for this one. Just to actually share your concepts, your ideas, and thoughts with us. Like, to those who are watching, thank you very much for actually joining us for another episode of PSM Spotlight. Like, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Go to Ben's channel. Check out all of his content. It's actually really good. It's a good binge, by the way, Ben. Thank you.
oh,
See,
you're
that
very
traffic
welcome.
spike, it's me. So, there.
Oh.
Again, with that being said, thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you in the next.